12 killed, 37 injured in Nasarawa gas explosion. Saraki Atiku Kwakwanso trade words over who gets PDP presidential tickets. In international news, U.S. warns Syria over use of chemical weapons in Idlib. And in sport, FIFA CAF picked Samaje Pinnick to lead normalization committee to get Ghana's Football Association running again.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Sad events in Nasarawa as residents of Lafia woke up to an unfortunate incident of gas explosion in Monaco gas plant within the premises of a filling station. 12 persons were killed and 37 sustained serious degrees of injuries. The state sector commander of the Federal Road Safety Commission confirmed the injured persons are currently receiving treatment in hospitals. Eyewitnesses say the fuel station caught fire as workers were offloading gas at the plant. This has led to the loss of lives, burning of shops and houses. President Buhari has condoled with the Nasarawa state government over this incident. More than 3 persons have been confirmed dead and 6 injured in Katsina after rainstorms hit Maibere in Border local government area. Also destroyed were 800 houses. Farmlands and animals were also lost to the disaster. Rainstorms also destroyed more than 100 houses and rendered hundreds of families homeless in Krofi local council. In both incidents, riverbanks had overflowed their banks in the affected areas. Hundreds of domestic animals drowned and were washed away by the flood. Shatasabo in Shiroro local government area of Niger State did not escape the weekend's natural disasters. The market. Sources say the boat conveying 10 of the victims capsized during the rain. Only 1 person survived. Increase in water level could not be unconnected with the recent Texas water spillage from the dam. Niger State Emergency Management Services says rescue teams are still trying to recover bodies of those who drowned. Away from rather sad news, now to Nigerian politics. President Muhammadu Buhari has formally received his 45 million naira nomination and expression of interest forms for next year's election. They were purchased for him by the Nigerian Consolidation Ambassadors Network, which comprises of his supporters. The group says the funds for the nomination form were generated through contributions made by the supporters and admirers of the president.
A check of 45 million naira for the expression of interest and nomination form for President Muhammadu Buhari, because we believe it.
Okay, here.
There is anxiety now within the People's Democratic Party. The party's board of trustees has set up a 12-member committee to discuss with the 13 presidential aspirants in order to come up with a consensus candidate because the number of interested aspirants is high. Committee members have not been reviewed, but the board had concluded to reduce the number of aspirants. It says it would not force anyone to step down. Some governors have rejected this decision and are planning to meet with the presidential aspirants this week on the commitment to free and fair primaries. 11 of the 12 aspirants, except Saraki, have submitted nomination forms. Deadline for submission is today, Tuesday. More trouble in the PDP field as some presidential aspirants, including former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, Senate President Bukola Saraki, and Kano State former Governor Rabiu Kwakwanso, have disagreed on who will be the presidential standard bearer of the party. 3 of them have decided to meet at the primaries. Saraki says it was the turn of the North Central Zone to lead the country, while former Vice President Atiku Abubakar says since the party had not zoned the ticket to the North Central, he was not ready to step down for Saraki. Former Governor Kwakwanso says he's the only PDP aspirant who could duke it out with incumbent President Muhammadu Buhari. He says he wouldn't step down for anyone. Jona Jang has also said he would not hear the party's call to step down for Atiku.
If you know fit go internet or follow for Twitter, you know fit snap photo send or get it photo send. Now because you the use Palasa, your phone no the answer. See me see wahala. My brother, come get smart for the air. Drop that balasa phone. Phone when no go for your hand. Drop that balasa phone. Phone when no fit take selfie. Drop that balasa phone. No be correct for the drop that balasa phone.
Upgrade to a smartphone today and get double data for 6 months on any MTN data bundle you buy. Simply purchase a smartphone from any store, anywhere in Nigeria, or bring your current smartphone from any network. Insert your MTN SIM card to start enjoying your double data bonus. Offer is open to all new and existing MTN subscribers. Join the largest smartphone movement today.
Make it not for your hand. That's my last phone.
Welcome back. This is NN News. Now to Africa. Zimbabwe's new finance minister, Mithulu Nwebe, has described his task of reviving the country's failed economy as extraordinarily difficult, but is hopeful of success. Nwebe was speaking to Voice of America in Harare after being sworn into office by President Emmerson Mnangagwa. Zimbabwe's economy has been in the pit for years now, and Zimbabwe started printing bond notes about 2 years ago to ease cash shortages. The new finance minister says he has to address the currency issue for Zimbabwe's economy to get back on track. The volume of trade between Egypt and Romania has hit a new high of $3.5 billion in 5 years. Egypt exported $480 million worth of goods to Romania, but imported $3 billion in the same period. Romanian businesses invested in 60 projects in the North African country with a total issue capital of $224 million. The Ugandan government says it is investigating reports that Ugandan girls seeking employment as domestic workers in Oman have been trafficked and sold as slaves. The Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development confirmed that they have heard stories of the legal trafficking of Ugandan girls to work as slaves in Oman. The ministry says the government will take appropriate steps once the matter has been properly investigated. A new crime statistics released by South African police on Tuesday says when it comes to crimes against children, more boys were murdered than girls than last year in the country. The statistics revealed that just about 1,000 had been murdered across the country, 700 of whom were boys. The police report shows the majority of the children were killed in the Western Cape, followed by KwaZulu-Natal and the Eastern Cape. Eritrea says its border with Ethiopia, its longtime rival, has officially opened after 2 decades. Information Minister Yemane Meskel said in a Twitter post, leaders of the two countries, Eritrean President Isaias Afwerki and Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, have opened the border point at Bor. This border opening will facilitate road transport connectivity. A similar border opening ceremony will take place at a later date at the Sahar Zalambeza crossing. The Kenyan Revenue Authorities has asked for the dismissal of 4 cases before the High Court challenging the imposition of 16% VAT on petroleum products. It says there is nothing unconstitutional about the law. KRA argues that the lawsuit filed by the Central Organizations of Trade Unions is an abuse of the court process. While the court had declined to permanently suspend the law, it has issued temporary orders suspending it. COTU and its leaders argue that the Energy Regulatory Commission and KRA have defied Parliament's intention by levying the VAT, which it claims lawmakers voted to suspend until 2020. International aid agencies have warned that drastic cuts in foreign aid are endangering millions of refugees in East Africa. The aid groups say refugees are exposed to malnutrition and other diseases like diarrhea, dysentery and cholera. The Norwegian Refugee Council says funding to Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania has dropped by more than 1/3 when compared with last year. This has led to decreased availability of food, clean water and sanitation for refugees. The 3 countries host more than 2 million refugees from neighboring nations. Aid groups are calling on rich nations to step up support to countries that still accept refugees to avoid what they call a refugee catastrophe in East Africa.
While the world sleeps, NN News stays awake. News takes no time off. We are awake so you can sleep. We report the stories that keep you up to date, events that affect your day, your week, month, and experiences, we scour the world. Bringing you to your living room, watch ANN News in a truly African spirit.
MTN gives 2,000% bonus for reactivating your MTN SIM. That's right. If you haven't used your MTN SIM for 45 days or more, recharge now and get 2,000% bonus. That's right, 2,000% bonus for your first recharge of every month.
The All Progressives Congress in Kogi State says it has adopted indirect method of primary election to select credible candidates for next year's poll. Kogi State Governor Yaya Bello has assured members and aspirants seeking various elective positions on APC's platform that it would not have anointed candidates. He says the party will sponsor all candidates for the general elections to ensure victory for the party. Now let's switch to business. The Nigerian Communications Commission and the Consumer Protection Council have inaugurated a joint investigative committee for consumer issues in the telecommunications industry. Bitside said in a statement the collaboration will ensure regulatory clarity and eliminate possible multiple regulatory approaches to similar issues. Both NCC and CPC intend to keep abreast of this important issue to ensure enhanced operation and customer satisfaction. The meeting deliberated on service quality and issues such as call masking, unsolicited subscriptions, and transparency in billing.
Lotteries all over the world are now electronically driven. There is no better infrastructure that is amenable to the conduct of lotteries in this country than the telecommunications infrastructure. Now, as you are aware, bringing any additional service on the infrastructure adds additional burden to the networks. Therefore, the Commission is concerned that any additional service on the networks could or may degrade quality of service.
There are indications that a major decision could be taken this week to govern the production of the 1 million barrels per day increase in oil output, to which Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, and non-OPEC members have agreed. OPEC and non-OPEC Technical Committee will discuss proposals for distributing the additional oil output among members. These topics are seen as tense issues for the producer group after it decided in June to ease supply curbs. It will also look at various mechanisms to reach the required production level. Many aerodromes and airstrips owned by private firms and state governments may be closed over debts of more than 4 billion naira, in excess of 4 billion naira to the Nigerian Airspace Management Agency. NAMA relies on these revenues to pay workers and maintain its navigation equipment, which run on electricity or generating plants for 24 hours each day. Sources say the agency is facing difficulty in funding the maintenance of these pieces of equipment. Workers' salary is also a problem emanating from the non-payment of this debt. NAMA has decided to withdraw its services from the indebted airstrips and may soon shut down all airstrips in the country. When we return, U.S. to retaliate if Syria launches chemical weapon in Idlib, and later Amaju Pinnick to head Ghana's normalization team.
You are watching ANN.
MTN gives 2,000% bonus for reactivating your MTN SIM. That's right. If you haven't used your MTN SIM for 45 days or more, recharge now and get 2,000% bonus. That's right, 2,000% bonus for your first recharge of every month.
Welcome back. This is CNN News. In international news, Britain, France and the US have warned Syria it will suffer what they described as much stronger response if it uses chemical weapons again. There are fears that if Russian-backed Syria launches an offensive in Idlib, it may use chemical weapons in a bid to retake the province. Airstrikes were launched by the US, Britain and France in April after the last Syrian chemical weapons attack. The strikes targeted infrastructure at 3 sites connected to Syria's chemical weapons program near Damascus. Syrian opposition activists say the main offensive may not have started, but Syrian and Russian aircraft are hitting targets in southern Idlib. Taliban fighters are preparing to send a delegation for further talks with U.S. officials on ending the conflict in Afghanistan. Officials involved with the process said on Tuesday the meeting could address a possible prisoner swap. They said the Taliban would like to discuss an exchange of prisoners and could hold another meeting soon if the United States showed seriousness in talks by releasing those prisoners. The United States has stepped up airstrikes against the Taliban in the past years and boosted training for Afghan forces. U.S. officials say the goal is to reach a negotiated Afghan-led settlement to end the war. The European Parliament is to discuss whether to launch disciplinary proceedings against Hungary. Members of European Parliament will debate whether the right-wing government policies on issues like migrants pose a serious risk to EU's values. This comes just months after the European Commission took the step to launch similar proceedings against Poland. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban is expected to fight the claims personally in the chamber, brandishing a dossier of counter-arguments more than 100 pages long. Orban and his Fidesz party say many of the accusations against them on issues of rule of law were solved long ago. Reports say the country's ministers, along with its vocal pro-government media, speak of a witch hunt against Fidesz for standing up for national sovereignty against what they call the liberal elite. A group of nuns in one of India's oldest Catholic communities is calling for the arrest of a bishop who has been accused of raping one of the church sisters multiple times in a 2-year period. The incident happened in the southern parts of Kerala and has attracted international attention. It is extremely rare for nuns to publicly accuse a superior of wrongdoing, let alone sexual assault. 5 nuns have been protesting outside the Kerala High Court, where the case has been heard. They are calling for the arrest of Bishop Franco Mulakal. They also demand an expedited investigation. Judge Joseph, president of the Joint Christian Council, an advocacy organization working with the nuns, say more than 100 citizens have come to support them since the demonstration started last weekend. Events are being held across the United States on Tuesday to mark the 17th anniversary of 9/11. More than 2,000 people died on September the 9th, 2001, when terrorists intentionally crashed 2 planes into New York's Twin Towers. Another plane crashed into the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., and a 4th one in an open field in Pennsylvania. U.S. President Donald Trump is attending a memorial in Pennsylvania later on Tuesday. Another ceremony is being held at the World Trade Center Memorial Plaza in New York, during which victims' families will read out names of their loved ones. Up next, sport. Pinnick to head Ghana's normalization team. Stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
If you know fit go internet or follow for Twitter, you know fit snap photo send or get it photo send. Now because you dey use Palasa, your phone no dey answer. See me see wahala. My brother, go get smart for the air. Drop that Palasa phone. Phone wey no go for your hand. Drop that Palasa phone. Phone wey no fit take selfie. Drop that Palasa phone. No be correct for the
Upgrade to to a smartphone today and get double data for 6 months on any MTN data bundle you buy. Simply purchase a smartphone from any store, anywhere in Nigeria, or bring your current smartphone from any network. Insert your MTN SIM card to start enjoying your double data bonus. Offer is open to all new and existing MTN subscribers. Join the largest smartphone movement today.
Make it not for your hand. That's Malasa phone.
I am Lucy Adeyemi.
I am Rotimi Akintunde.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji.
We bring you
The news,
On ANN News,
business,
politics,
global news.
Watch ANN News.
In a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now to sport. World Football Governing Body FIFA has chosen Imaju Pinnick, Nigeria Football Federation president, to lead a normalization committee charged with the responsibility of getting Ghana's Football Association running again. The Ghanaian government had sent a delegation to Zurich last month to meet with FIFA's officials. Both sides agreed on a roadmap to reform Ghanaian football. The agreement ends nearly 9 weeks of uncertainty about the government's planned action to clean up the game in the country and end the threat of a FIFA ban over the government's intervention. Uganda is set to host the Confederation of African Football Young Talent Referees Course. This is the first time Uganda will host such a course, but the attendance of 34 referees from across the continent has been confirmed. 15 FIFA male referees, 15 assistant referees, and 4 female referees will participate in the course. Opening ceremonies are scheduled for Friday. CAF Deputy Secretary General for Football and Development, Anthony Bafo, says all the referees will undergo medical, physical, theoretical, and technical tests during the course. Instructors have been selected from Mauritius, Zimbabwe, Algeria, and Gabon. That's ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on this and other stories, visit our website, annafrica.net. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Have a great evening.